All right, we're going to go ahead and get ready for our Unit 2 test. And so for this test, we're going to go through the review and then let me know if there's anything I can do to help you with that. And so for the first few questions, we're going to determine if the following representation is a function or not. So as a reminder, to be a function, x's can't repeat. And so that's the main thing you're going to look at. And so f of x equals negative 7x plus 2. That's a linear function. And so if I were to draw this graph, it has a y-intercept of 2, so it'd start up here somewhere. And then it has a slope of negative 7, which means it's going to go down 7 over 1, down 7 over 1. So it's going to graph like that. So it'd be some sort of line like that, which means that it is a function. No x repeats. It goes forever left and right. It also passes the vertical line test. On letter B, as you look at your x's, 5, negative 3, 5, 0, we've got 2 5s. And so nope, that's not a function. For letter C, we've got a graph, and as you look at it, it's continually going left to right. It never overlaps. As it goes left to right, if I draw vertical lines, it only goes through the graph at one spot per line. And so yes, it passes the vertical line test. This one is a function. I will continue on number 2. If we have these points right here and it's a function, which of the following could be a, b? And so I don't care about the y values. All I care about is the x values. And as I said earlier, x's can't repeat. And so I've got negative 2, 3, and negative 4. So my x value can't be any of those 3. So this one's 3. Nope, it can't be that one. This one's a 2. Yes, it could be that one. This one's a 3. It can't be that one. And this one's a negative 4. It can't be that one. So the answer is going to be B. Number 3, we'll do the same thing. It wants to be a function. Which one could be a, b? Again, I don't care about the y's. All I'm going to look at is the x's. The x's can't repeat. So 2, 3, and negative 4. This could be anything but 2, 3, and negative 4. So nope, can't be 3. Nope, can't be 2. Nope, can't be negative 4. But negative 2 works. And so this one's going to be D. All right, number 4. Number 4 and 5, we could solve these by hand or using Desmos, depending on which way you want to do it. But usually this is f of x, like it is right here. And the f of x is a fancy way of saying y. But for this function, now my x is going to be negative 5. And so for f of negative 5, we're going to plug in negative 5 where we see the x. And then we'll evaluate it. Negative 3 times negative 5 is positive 15, and it'll bring down the plus 4. 15 plus 4 is 19, and so the answer is going to be 19. And then if I were to go to Desmos, here's my Desmos right here. In order to do this one, I'm going to put it in just as it is. And so I've got f of x, oops, I need to click it, f of x is equal to, and this is negative 3x plus 4. And so there's my function. And then we're finding f of negative 5. So I'm going to put in f of negative 5. And it tells me the answer is 19, which that's what we got algebraically as well. So either way you do it, you're going to get the same answer. Number 5 will do the same thing. And so I'm going to put in, this time we're doing f of 4. So we're going to plug in 4 for the x. And so that's going to be 12 minus 4, which is 8. And so again, I'm going to go to my Desmos. I'm going to pause it and plug it in, and then I'll show you what I have. All right, so I plugged in the function into Desmos, and so in the first slot I put f of x equals 3x minus 4, the function on number 5, and then in the second spot I put f of 4, which is what we were finding, and it told me the answer is 8, which is also what we found. All right, on to the next page. All right, so again, we're trying to find which table represents a function, which means, again, the x's can't repeat. So we'll look at the x's. I've got negative 2 and negative 2, so it's not a. On letter B, I've got negative 3 and negative 3. Letter D, I don't see anything that repeats. That looks pretty good. And letter C, I've got 8 and 8, so it's not C. And so it's D. On number 7, the part of a linear function h is shown on the grid. Which inequality best represents the domain? So it's very important on this one. The domain is our x values. So the domain should be x. H of x right here is a fancy way of saying y. That's x, and again, that's y. So since we're doing domain, it cannot be D and it cannot be A. It's got to be either B or C, and I haven't even looked at the graph, but I know it's got to be B or C. Now we're going to look at the graph and see, since domain is my x's, I want to know how far left to how far right does the graph go. And so this furthest left x value right here is 1, 2, 3, 4, that's -5. And the furthest right it goes is 1. And so my x is between -5 and 1. And then lastly, both of them are open circles, which means neither of them gets the equals bar. This is my domain. So I'm going to look over here. It's going to be option B. -5 is less than x, which is less than 1. For number 8, we'll do the same thing. And so we've got this linear function, which inequality best represents the range. So this time for range, we want to know the y. And so this one's h of x, that's good. This one's x, can't be b. This one's x, can't be c. This one's y, so it's got to be either a or d. And so now we'll do the work. So the lowest y value is -1. The highest y value is 4. So my y is between -1 and 4. And lastly, this one's an open circle, which means it doesn't get the equals. This one's a closed circle, it gets the equals. So my y has to be between -1 and 4 with an equals on the -1, which means it is D. On to the next page. All right, so this one's a little bit trickier, but it says the daily cost of hiring a chef to work 8 hours for an event can be modeled using a linear function. The chef charges an initial charge of $120 plus an additional cost of $40 per hour. The chef requires a minimum 4 hours and a maximum of 8 hours. And here's my function right here. And so for this one, I think it'd be good to get a picture of what's going on. So for this is my y-intercept of 120, and it's climbing at a slope of 40. And so we're going to start at 120, and it's going to go up to the right like this, something like that. It's not perfect, but something like this. With this, he has a minimum of 4 hours and a maximum of 8 hours. So honestly, I only care about this section to this section. I don't care about the rest of the line. And so we're just looking at these two sections right here. And then lastly, it asks about the range. The range is the y value. So I need to know what is this y value and what is this y value, and that's going to give me the range. And so the range is not going to be 4 to 8. And so it's got to be either A or D, because we're talking about the range, the y value, which is the C of H. And so now I just need to figure out what is the y value here and what is the y value here. Well, to find that y value, we're going to take the x and plug it in. And so for this one, the C is going to be equal to 120 plus 40 times 4. This has to be 120 plus 40 times 4 is 160. And then 120 plus 160 is 280. And so it's looking like it's going to be D. But we'll prove it by doing the top one. For the top one, we're going to plug in 8 into x. So 120 plus 40 times 8. That's be 120 plus 40 times 8 is 320. Then we'll add those together. That's 440. It's going to be D. All right, then continuing number 10. On number 10, we're going to use this graph. And so again, this is f of x. So my x is -1. On this one, my x is 0. On this one, we don't know what the x is, but we do know what the y is. And again, I don't know the x, but I do know the y. On these two, we don't know the y, so we're going to find the y. And so every point on this line has a coordinate, and we're going to pair it up. So for the first one, I want to know when my x is -1, what's the y value that goes with it? So here's where x is -1. I'm going to go to where it intersects the line. Here's where it intersects the line. So that coordinate would be -1, and then the y that goes with it is -3. And so this coordinate would be -1, -3. Same thing for f of 0. My x is 0, so it doesn't move. It starts right here. Here's where it intersects the line at 0, -1. For letter C, I don't know the x, but I do know the y is -5. So I'm going to come down to where y is -5 right here, and we're going to go to where it intersects the line right here. So my y is -5. The x that goes with it is -2. And then again, we're going to do it with 5. So when y is 5, here's where it intersects. And so the x value is 3. Number 11, determine the slope and y-intercept of the function graphed below. And so to find the slope, I need to figure out, so I need y equals mx plus b, and we're trying to find what is the slope and what is the y-intercept. Well, looking at this graph, I can already tell what the y-intercept is. The y-intercept is going to be 1. It goes through the y-axis at 1. Whoops, I forgot to put a 1 right there. I'll try it again. There we go. All right, so my y-intercept is 1. Now I need to figure out what's the slope. Well, I need 2 good points. So I've got that point. It looks like it goes through at this point right here. And so I'm going to count how far it goes down and over to get from this point to this point. So 1, 2, 3, it goes down 3. And then 1, 2, 3, 4 goes over 4. So my slope is the rise over run. And one thing that's also important is as I go from left to right, this graph is falling to the right. So it's going to be a negative slope. So my slope is going to be -3 over 4. And that's the slope of this equation. All right, let's go to the next one. All right, so for this one, we're going to graph the linear function. So for it, my slope is -4, or -4 over 1. My y-intercept is -1. So we're going to start at the y-intercept of -1. We're going to put a dot right there on the y-axis. And then my slope is negative, which means we're going to go down and to the right. Down 4, right 1. Down 4, right 1. So from this dot, we're going to go down 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, right 1. And then we'll do it again. Down 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, right 1. If you run out of room, you can also go up 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, left 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, left 1. And so there's my dots. And then I would use a straight edge to draw those lines. So I'm going to go ahead and pause it and do a straight line. Then I'll come back and show it to you. All right, so I connected the dots, and there's the line that goes through the equation -4x minus 1. All right, for the next one, it's kind of a long one. You got to read it and know what's going on. It says, Clara recently took a babysitting job for the Harris family. The parents agreed to pay her $18 an hour to watch their 3 children. Depending on how things go, they would like to hire Clara to babysit weekly. Clara really wants to make a good impression, so she buys some stickers and other crafting supplies to bring with her on her first time to babysit the kids. She spent around $6 total on supplies. The linear function representing the scenario is graphed below. Choose all descriptions that are true of Clara's babysitting job based on the graph. And so for this graph, the first one says the linear equation representing Clara's total earnings is B of H equals 18H minus 6. Well, she's earning $18 an hour. That's her rate of change, the slope. And she spent $6 to start off with. And if we count 2, 4, 6, that is my y-intercept. And so I'll put a B. That is true. So A is a true statement. Next off, after 2 hours of babysitting, Clara will have earned $30. So we'll go to where she's babysat for 2 hours. And we'll go over to see how much she's earned. And so it looks like every line, let me see how much every line is. I think every line is 3. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18. So every line's 3, 21, 24, 27, and that is 30. So that's a true statement as well. B is true. The y-intercept represents the number of hours Clara works. No, the y-intercept is how much she has earned. At the beginning, she earned -$6 because she spent money. And then the y-intercept represents the amount of money Clara has earned at the start of the job. That is true. At the beginning, she had earned -$6 because she spent $6 on supplies. And now we'll go to the next page. All right, so we're almost done. For this next one, what are the x and y-intercept of the graph below? So the x-intercept is at -3. You could also write that -3, 0. And so we'll come over here and see, nope, nope, nope. That's it right there. We'll check the y-intercept just to make sure. The y-intercept is right here at 5, or 0, 5. So C is the correct answer. And lastly, Chuck's bucket containing his freshly caught fish is losing water. The graph below shows the loss of water over time. And so if we look at this, at time 0, he has 5 gallons of water. And then as time passes, he's losing water. So after 5 hours, he's got no water left in the bucket. And so this is he starts with 5 gallons, ends with 0 after 5 hours. And so first of all, I want to know, what is the meaning of the y-intercept? Well, the y-intercept, he starts with 5 gallons of water at time 0. So bucket lost 5 gallons. Well, he did lose 5 gallons of water. That's not the y-intercept. Chuck's bucket was completely empty after 5 hours. Again, that's true, but not the y-intercept. Chuck's bucket started with 5 gallons of water. That's the y-intercept. And then Chuck's bucket lost 1 gallon per hour. Again, that's a true statement, but not true about what the y-intercept means. And the graph, what is the meaning of the x-intercept? So the x-intercept is right here at 5, which is 5 hours. And after 5 hours, he had no water left in his bucket. So Chuck's bucket lost 5 gallons. Maybe so. Chuck's bucket was completely empty after 5 hours. I like that one better because it includes the time, and that's what matters. And so I think it's going to be B. Chuck's bucket started with 5 gallons of water. That's not my x-intercept, that's my y. Chuck's bucket lost 1 gallon per hour. That's my slope. For both of these, that was my slope, my rate of change. And so while he did lose 5 gallons of water, it's missing the time piece, and that's important for the x-intercept. All right, and that completes our review. If there's anything I can do to help you, let me know.